This is going to be the last intro programming video of this being like videos that are tailored towards beginners who are just learning about programming and lifting and training, etc. Right. This is going to be the last of those videos, last of the beginner type videos. Right. And so the final topic is periodization. And what periodization is basically is it's literally just training, or how you train over time. How you train over weeks, over months, over years. Like literally just how you train over time. And so there are 4 main types of periodization, and I'll go through them one by one. But before we do that, we need to look at timescales, right? Because periodization is how you train over time, right? But how do you split time up? How do you chunk it up? To begin with, the biggest time scale is a macrocycle. A macrocycle is from 3 to 12 or more months, right? That is a macrocycle. So it's minimum 3 months, and maximum can be really anything, right? The next is a mesocycle. So this is the in-between one, and these are from 1 to 12 weeks, right? So there's literally 1 week to 3 months. You can probably see where the next one's coming in, right? A microcycle is 1 training day to 1 week. Right? So from there it goes from microcycle 1 day to 1 week, mesocycle from 1 week to 3 months, macrocycle 3 months and up. Right? Those are the 3 time scales that are in periodization, and honestly in all of training. So the first periodization is linear periodization. And so linear periodization is where you, over time or over a mesocycle, you increase intensity while you decrease volume at the same time. So that's a week by week basis, right? And I'll put up a picture of an example so you can see how this works. So basically, week by week, you're going to be increasing intensity whilst decreasing volume. Right? And volume is basically how many sets of how many reps you do. So linear periodization can be used from a mesocycle to a macrocycle. So linear periodization is, you can use it for quite some time, right? And linear periodization is probably the best out of the 4 I'm going to be explaining today for exclusively bodybuilding, right? Because bodybuilding, the entire purpose of that is to gain muscles. Now, linear periodization is not good for any strength sport because you can't always just keep on increasing the intensity and lowering the volume. You're going to eventually hit a plateau. And in strength sports, hitting a plateau is very bad, right? You do not want to hit the plateau when you're pursuing strength primarily. And so that's why linear periodization is the best for if you are doing bodybuilding. Now, there is a subtype of linear periodization, and this is called reverse linear periodization. And so reverse linear periodization is literally just reversing the two, right? So instead of increasing intensity, you're decreasing intensity and increasing volume over time. And I'll put up an example table once again to show you it. And so reverse linear periodization is best for if you want more endurance or work capacity. And it makes sense, right? Because you're doing more volume over time with less intensity. So that corresponds more with doing more endurance work. So the second major group is undulating periodization. And this is also called nonlinear periodization. And basically in undulating periodization, you're going to vary the stimulus. And the stimulus is going to be the triad, or your volume, intensity, or frequency. Right? These 3 are going to be varied on a daily or even a weekly basis. And undulating periodization is good for longer macrocycles. It's good for just constantly doing it for a year. It's good for long periods of time. And the first subtype is daily undulating periodization, and I'll put up a table of an example. And so basically what happens in daily undulating periodization is where each workout day alternates. So on one day you can be going more for volume, On another day, you can go for more intensity, right? It's undulating based on per workout day. The second type is weekly undulating. And so, as the name suggests, this is where you undulate per week instead. So, 1 week you can be training for more volume, and then another week or the next week you can be training for more intensity. And so, the advantage of weekly undulating is that it's slower, and that makes it smoother, right? Because with daily undulating periodization, there is a sort of tendency to plateau earlier than weekly, because with weekly you are training more for one stimulus and then you're switching, and then training for a week for that and then switching. Whereas with daily, you just do 1 day, switch another day, switch another day, switch another day. It's like, it's slower, but it's smoother. There's less plateaus. So the third type is block periodization. Block periodization is basically where you break down a mesocycle into blocks. And so the time frame for each block is 2 to 4 weeks. Let's say maximum time is 3 months for a mesocycle, right? 12 weeks, 4 weeks per block. That's 3 blocks in a mesocycle. Right? Math. So usually in block periodization there are 3 phases. The first phase is the accumulation phase, and this is where you train indirectly for a quality that you want. The second phase is transmutation, where you then train directly for a quality that you want. And finally, there's the peaking phase, where you peak, where you display the quality that you want at its highest form, essentially. And so an example for powerlifting, and I'll show you this up on screen. So for powerlifting, there's going to be a hypertrophy phase where you develop more muscles. Right? Then there's going to be a strength phase where you prioritize more on strength and basically train yourself to use the gain muscle fibers in the hypertrophy phase with the existing muscle fibers to gain more strength, essentially, to recruit more motor fibers. And then finally there's the peaking phase, of which most likely, if you're powerlifting, right, it's going to be the meet where you're going to be peaking for strength. And so this includes that you're going to drop the volume, you're going to ramp up the intensity, and it's going to be just hard stuff, but you're going to be your strongest. And then finally there's an optional deload where you drop everything, you let your body recover, and then you go into the next mesocycle. So that's block periodization. Finally, there is conjugate periodization. And conjugate periodization is like and is similar to daily undulating periodization in that it changes sort of on a daily schedule. And so conjugate periodization basically trains 2 aspects at the same time. And so the example on screen, I believe, is like training for hypertrophy and strength. And so conjugate is basically you train these 2 at the same time. And so conjugate is best used if your workout split's like 4 days a week, which is the example used in the below picture, or 6 days a week, where you can like basically divide your split. Right, say if it's like push-pull legs 2 times a week, right, 6 days a week. 1 PPL could be for hypertrophy, another PPL could be for strength, and combine those 2 into a week, and that would be conjugate. You can also do upper-lower, as I put up on the screen. 1 upper-lower is hypertrophy, 1 upper-lower is strength. Right? Conjugate is best if you want to develop 2 qualities that are synergistic. Right? Strength and hypertrophy are synergistic because more muscles equals better strength. Right? They work synergistically. Something not synergistic is endurance and maximal strength. Right? Like you can train endurance and you can train maximal strength, but they aren't going to complement one each other. And so overall, those are the 4 different periodizations. And now is the time of the video where you need to ask yourself, which one is best for you? The thing is, it depends on your goals. I can't just tell you, do this for this, do this for this, do this for this. It depends on your goals. Perhaps for physique, linear will be better, but perhaps you don't actually like linear, Perhaps you want to focus on strength, and therefore you go with block periodization. Perhaps you want both strength and hypertrophy, and so you do conjugate. It's like, it depends on your goals. And this video is not meant to be like a cookie cutter video where I just like tell you, if this is your goal, go with this, I want you to come out of this video with being able to think. Right? Think about your goals and how each periodization type would fit your goals. And therefore, you choose. Don't let me choose for you. Right? If you let me choose for you, I don't know you. I know nothing about you. So you're probably going to be disappointed. And so instead, use the information in this video and choose for yourself. And with that, that is the last beginner video for programming. I don't know if I'm going to do more programming videos, but I shall see. Have a good day.